Hello and welcome to another Australian Football Services podcast. My name's Anel and I'm joined as always by Omer. In this week's podcast, we're very pleased to welcome Matthew Bloxham, who is the current under-18s coach at Cardiff City FC. Cardiff City, of course, play in the English Championship. Matthew is a highly experienced youth development coach and we're very lucky to have him on the podcast with us today. So Matthew, thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks for the invite, guys. Looking forward to it.
Matthew, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your history in football, please?
I think it goes back to when young child loving the game, always wanting to play, always wanting to try and be around the ball, you know, kick-ups, everything from a young age, just that real street football love of the game, going out playing with different ages, to getting involved in, you know, organised team sport, to then progressing through. Never made it as a professional footballer. Very late maturer, being an August birthday. Always found that I was very late in terms of my maturation. When I was 16, I was still quite physically underdeveloped, and then by the time I got to 18, I'm where I am now. So real jump, which has obviously helped me with experience later down the line. Got involved into coaching early, so secondary school options coming up when you're doing PE and at GCSE, which is what we do from 15 and 16, option to go and do some coaching with the younger kids. Just loves the energy they bring. I think, you know, if you go and watch under 7s, under 8s play football, it cheers anyone up. Just that sheer love of the game and loving scoring goals and chasing the ball and the smile on people's faces. And I just wanted to get involved. So started my first coaching badges then around 17, 18, still involved with playing and enjoying the game, but starting to think about how I could stay involved away from playing. Really enjoyed the coaching side. So started off as just going and doing a level 1 and helping local school kids. But then became an option for university. So going to university, doing sports development there, with coaching a big part of what the course is about, and going on to do my level 2, then my level 3 whilst I was there. From there, just real vast experience of dealing with kids who some were in development centres and were preparing themselves for academy football. Some were school clubs where you go in and you've got 30 kids and you've got a hall and you've got a Christmas play set up and you've got a piano in one corner and you're thinking, what can we do with these? What can we do with these 30 kids? And there's guys who love football and there's guys who are there just wanting to experience it for the first time. There's girls there, there's boys there, they're all playing together, and I think it teaches, taught me that part of my career, taught me a lot about how to sort of deal with people and deal with, you know, people's different expectations of what they want from football and what they want from the session, but also how you can get the best out of people. So you don't have to be the best footballer to enjoy football. Yeah. You don't have to have. People need challenging in different ways. You know, the little girl who's trying it for the first time, she's got a very different experience to the person in their class who's playing 5 times a week and carry the ball through the house. From there, I was lucky enough. I come over to you guys. I come over to Australia for 9 months. Yep. So I based myself in Brisbane and the Gold Coast, and a great experience because going from Britain, which is obviously football mad and football's everywhere, to coming over and seeing the talent that you guys have on offer, but also having to adapt myself to different challenges like the heat. Up in Brisbane, I remember the first 2 times we were trying to do sessions and you're trying to do what we would class as a normal session in the UK, but then having to taper how you do these sessions and having to taper how you approach games when it's 11 o'clock kickoff on a Sunday and I'm finding it hard. I was boiling just watching the game, so that was a real good experience for me. It was also a good experience in that I had to learn how to communicate a bit more clearly, because the first few months I was over and I was trying to coach, I don't think anyone understood me, if I'm honest. So it was developing a coaching voice where I was probably a bit slower in how I spoke. Trying to not get rid of my accent, I'm proud of it, but trying to obviously be clearer with my words so people could understand. Getting used to training at 6:30 in the morning with you guys, by the way, that was new. from there, after 9 months, coming back, I had a great 9 months over there. Loved the people, loved the lifestyle, loved everything about it. But come back to the UK to sort of pursue my coaching ambition, really, wanting to try and get better. The big thing that I still have in myself now is that I'm not happy just doing what I'm currently doing. It's always, you want to be better. You want tomorrow's session to be better than today's session, and it's finding ways to do that. So I come back to the UK, finished my B license, then went on. I was working for Cardiff, so I worked for Cardiff during my university days part-time and in the schools. Came back, continued that, got a full-time role with them, then basically mainly in the community. I spent a lot of time going and observing academy sessions, started to run development centres, which was like a pathway into the academy system. Started to observe more experienced coaches, practice things, lots and lots of on the grass coaching, which led me to my first role in the academy, which was with the under-8s. So that was all these grand ideas that I had about how you were going to prepare sessions, is then going in with 7 and 8-year-olds and realizing that you have to taper things in different ways, and you have to challenge people in different ways, and you've got to get people to enjoy it and improve. So from there, just working for a variety of age groups, really. So 8s, 9s, 10s, 11s. I was lucky enough then after 2 seasons to take a post as assistant youth development coach, which was full time with the academy, and that was under 12s to under 16s. And from there, like that enhanced my learning so much, just being around them older age groups, being around full time coaches, seeing what everyone does, seeing how everyone progresses, how everyone is different in slightly different ways, but how ultimately they manage situations, how ultimately they create environments for players that get the best out of them, whether they're 8 or 16. I was lucky enough after a year that I then moved on to be individual development coach. So I worked from 8s up to under 23s with select individuals on parts of their game that we wanted to improve, wanted to see them improve, or we wanted to see them become more effective with, which is great because it allowed me to go out and study individuals, study professionals, create sessions, create a program that was bespoke for individuals, and I really enjoyed that. That was something completely different and made me really focus on small details within sessions and small details of how we help players get better. From there, lucky enough that I then became the under-18s coach. So I've been in this post now for 5 years, which included 7 months working with the under-23s 2 seasons ago, which was great. So I've had a full range of spectrum now in the academy life, so from under-8 all the way up to under-23s, and I really enjoy it. It's been a privilege, obviously, to work in coaching, and don't take it for granted. We're trying to make sure that these experiences, we don't rest on them. We try and build on them going forward.
Nice. That's a bit of an intro there, Matthew. Well, you've pretty much covered the next question I had for you in regards to your experiences as a coach. You've mentioned the experiences that you had at Brisbane, at the Gold Coast, and at also the UK. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that as your experiences as a coach?
I think one of the main things that I look back on is recognizing the environment you create. So different players require different challenges, require different environments, and sometimes you've got to be authentic to yourself. It's trying to find ways to get the best out of everyone. So in Brisbane, in the Gold Coast, there was different challenges socially, away from people where they had a bigger outdoor lifestyle. It was more outside, so it was different types of people in the UK, but then there were similarities. So I think the big thing from the experiences is drawing from them. Is that things may be different and things may require a slightly different modes, but then people are people, and everybody wants to feel important. Everyone wants to try and get better. That's why they turn up for football. So it's really using your experience. And I think the biggest learning point for me was using your experience of the past dealings with people, past dealings with players, with everyone else, and looking at how you can put them into your current situation. Yeah. What's similar, and how do these people want to feel important?
Yeah.
Sure. What do you think of the weather?
Well, we're in the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, the winter was terrible.
I can imagine.
Winter was terrible. Oh, it was absolutely awful. Yes, I never thought I'd miss rain, but there was once or twice that I was over there, and I just thought, just like it to rain. just as I felt obliged that when I was there, because of all the good weather, that I had to go outside and do something.
Yeah.
Because in Wales we don't get that good weather as much. So every day it was sunny. I was thinking I got to go out for a run, or I got to go and try and find a way to be outside today.
There's no days off when the weather is so beautiful, is there?
No days off when the weather's so beautiful.
Beautiful.
I did learn a hard lesson about being out in the sun all day and coaching outside, and hydration, and not making sure you get the right amount of obviously sun protection and everything. So good learning tool.
Yeah, nice.
Matthew, you mentioned before the topic of coaching licenses and keeping up your coaching education. What kind of coaching license do you currently hold? Are you working towards an A license or your pro diploma? And on that topic as well, how important, in your opinion, is ongoing education for coaches?
So I've just finished my UEFA Pro license. So I finished that 6 months ago. So that I found the education courses really good. Really, I think they push you. I think they let you gain knowledge. It's like building blocks, isn't it? Everyone wants to jump and look at tactics and look at things, that it's how you put the week together. How does doing this exercise on a Tuesday link to doing something on a Friday, link to your game on Saturday? It's managing people. So a big part of the pro license was not necessarily the tactical side, but different situations where you might come in knowing yourself a bit more, having 360 reviews, so people assessing you and marking you, and maybe having a look at where your weaknesses are and how you can improve them, and making you consciously aware of that. So I think the education side and the formal side is really important. I've also been lucky enough that in the UK we do age-specific courses. So I've done the advanced youth in under 17 to under 23 players, and then I've also the Premier League over in the UK. They do a scheme called ECAS, which is a Elite Coach Apprenticeship Scheme, where we spend 2 years or 3 days a month, and you go and visit different sports and different businesses and different elite environments. And it was a real sort of eye opener to what good looks like, because we all say that was good, this is good, or this is a good culture, or this is something that we want to build on. But having the opportunity to go to Olympic sports, go to the Sachi and Sachi, we could have independent study schemes where I went to Benfica for a week and spent the week with the under-19s, and just seeing how the differences in how they did things and their culture and their lifestyle with their players to, Wales and Cardiff, going and looking at, I've tried to look at elite businesses around the world. So my pro license study, I went to the Seattle Seahawks, loved the NFL. So I was really interested in how you can manage 50 players. So we all say it's hard to manage 15 players. Well, how do you get your message to 50 players? And I thought that, so taking messages from all these things. So that formal learning for me is really important. Formal learning is you've got to have it. It's a convincer for you. You can be the best. You can be the best coach, and I know a lot of coaches who are so enthusiastic, but ultimately they need that convincer as well, that to get their next job, or to get the job they want, they might have to say, I'm a B license, or I'm an A license, or I'm a pro license holder. So it's that part. The informal experience, I think, and the informal learning is really important as well. So it's trying to surround yourself with good people, which I've been fortunate at Cardiff. We've had a vast array of really, really good coaches and people that's been a pleasure to learn from. But it also going and looking at other people's sessions, speaking to ex-professionals about what the game looks like, speaking to just anyone you can about the info. You know, when we've been on good formal courses, we've had people on the courses who we can talk to, and they've achieved great things in the game. And you just pick up little nuances from them that you think, oh, I've learned more than that 5-minute conversation they probably have in the last 6 months, because it's just that insight and that it's being willing to step outside your comfort zone. And I've always found that if you ask, you know, generally if you ask people for help and you ask people for an insight, people will give it to you. You know, so it is a football family.
That's awesome. That's excellent.
Definitely. Matthew, you have enlightened us about you coaching Cardiff under-18s team. What's the league structure like for your team?
Yeah, so there's 10 teams and it's split into a north and south divide. So it varies from year to year because of teams. We can go up categories in the UK, so we get audited. So some teams might have been category 2, which Cardiff was last year, and then they've gone up to category 1. So they'll change the numbers in the league slightly, and same people from category 3 might come to category 2. But we've got a north and south divide. So you play everyone. We're in the south, so we play everyone in the south twice, and then we play everyone in the north once, because there's people in the north which we might be traveling 4.5 hours to get to. So them games we play them once, and that's all rotated every year. At the end of the league season, the top 2, so the person who's top in our league will play the person who's second in the North League. And it's like similar to the A-League, you know, it's sort of a knockout competition then for an overall grand winner. You can win your league, but then you're in for a second trophy.
Nice.
Okay. It's funny that you mentioned that. From everything that I've been following in England in particular, I didn't know that they had a playoff style structure, bar of course the playoffs for promotion, but I didn't know that extends to youth. So that's really good. I guess mixing the two sort of the two tiers that are playing in the season is probably a great way to approach it. Gives the kids a bit more incentive as well.
Mm.
It's a nice finish to the season. So if you do well enough to stay in that top 2, I think it gives you a different experience. And ultimately, the league for these ages, nobody in 10 years might remember who won this league, but they might remember the players who come through, might remember the experiences who have gone this league. So it's an experience of, can you be consistent? So can you be consistent over 30 games? But then the last bit is, you could have been consistent all season, but then you have to produce it in a one-off game.
Yeah.
So what you've done before that doesn't count. So it's a great learning tool for the boys, and it's a great experience.
That's right.
Matthew, in terms of your under-18s players, have you had any players that have featured in the first team?
So Cardiff has got a good tradition of bringing players through. So the way the academy structure works in the UK is we got under-18s, and then we got under-23s, and then we got the first team. So my boys will then, or the club's boys at under-18s will then go on to the under-23s. So we'll push people up. So at the moment, there's boys that have come through the under-18s that are involved in the first team squad, but we see it as it's a pathway. So in the last 3 games, we've had one boy start 2 games for the first team, which has been brilliant for him. And it's about now how he develops, being around the first team players to obviously try and force his way in more often. How we can learn from the player that's in front of him at the moment, because there is a big jump from youth football to men's football. So everyone's pathway looks slightly different. So we might go 18s, 23s, and then go out on loan and then come back, which we've had players do, and then feature in the first team. So it's everyone sort of got a different plan to get to where they want to be.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, makes sense. But just touching base on that, Matthew, you mentioned that you guys do push men's from 18s to 23s or to the first grade team. Is that the same structure with development on the youth as well? So in your under 18s team, for example, would there be 14-year-olds as well as 16-year-olds being played in the under-18s?
Yeah, so our philosophy at Cardiff is to sort of have a smaller under-18 squad. So our squad is deliberately smaller in that some boys can get pushed up to the under-23s and get them, if they're ready for that, and to get some under-23 experience. But equally, that allows a pathway for people below to come into the under-18 team. So before lockdown, before the current national lockdown, we had under-16s, under-15s playing in our team. At the moment, they're obviously unable to, because they have to be signed to a scholarship to play. But it's something, once obviously the rules get changed, when we go back to a normal sort of standing, when the national lockdown ends, we can then reintegrate them into the group and bring them along. Because ultimately, we don't want to stand in the way of players, and we don't want to put a ceiling on where players can get to. You could be an under-16 but doing really well in the under-18s, and you might then get pushed to the under-23s if you're ready for it. But equally, you might have a player who's in the under-15s, and he might need to stay in the under-15s for a year or two, because that's where his path is and that's where his journey is, because he needs to be challenged in a slightly different way. Yeah. So I don't, if we can accelerate people, we will, but it's also understanding that each player is different, and each player might need a slightly different coaching, might need a slightly different level of patience. And people ultimately will be ready when they're ready, and when they can step in and when they get that experience, is then can they show what they've done in their age group and do what they've done so well in their age group in the next age group. Yeah.
Well, look, me and Anel actually admire that sort of development, especially in the youth. In England, do that very well with all their teams. Unfortunately, it's not the case all around the world. And I'm guessing that's the reason for why, the national team is so successful, and how young and fresh they are as well. You see it in the EPL. There's young and talented players always being pushed to the next level to play in the first team. And you know what? I admire that. And that's how it should be. This is what football should be, not to have only a successful team of mature players, but also mixing them up with the young, talented players as well.
I also think the young players give a great energy as well, because they come in and, they're at the heels of all the older players, and they want to do the extras, and they want to excel. And I think that having that youthful energy is great. Sometimes you have to look at winning in a different way, because you might be putting younger players in, but ultimately winning for us is getting the player in the first team long term. Yeah. And sometimes we have to look at a game and be, well, we played really well, and we might have conceded goals, but we've conceded goals because these players are still learning this part of the game, and they're still inexperienced in this part of the game. So if we can help them learn from their experiences, then when we can accelerate them further in the development, then that's ultimately what we want.
And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, losing with inexperienced players.
It's not either. I think the biggest thing for me is not, you look at it, or everyone wants to win. The players want to win. The coaches, even though you're about development, it's nice for the players to win. Yeah, it gives them that confidence boost. But it's looking at the process and going, right, well, does Saturday reflect the work they've done all week? Yeah. If it does reflect all the work, and if you're asking players to be to have the ball and be brave and want to make decisions, then of course there's going to be times, especially younger players, where they might get things wrong, or they might have that extra touch which they can get away with in their age group, but they can't at the one above, and that'll accelerate their learning. And for us, that's a real key development point.
For sure.
Absolutely. In terms of recruitment with Cardiff, though, obviously Cardiff and Swansea, the more well-known clubs based in Wales. How does Cardiff approach finding young, talented players? Do they look exclusively around Wales, or do they look across the UK? Do they look internationally? Because we have noticed that in your team you have a young Aussie, the goalkeeper, Jamie Cogman. He's playing there. So what's the kind of process with recruitment at Cardiff?
So at the younger ages, there's a rule in Britain around governance of where you can recruit from. So generally, sort of, there's a time limit on it. So we can't go and recruit boys from 2.5 hours away for an under-9. But then as they get older and as sort of, so all our boys are locally based, when the under 8s, 9s, 10s, 11s, 12s, 13s, 14s, then 15s, 16s, when people start maybe becoming available from different clubs, or there's someone that comes away who hasn't been in an academy, but we see him in a trial game. At under 16, that might be a case where we can look at them and then look to bring them in for a scholar. It's the same with, obviously, with you mentioned Jamie. We don't have scouts in Australia, but he was in the UK and he came in and he did well, and I think he's enjoying it. It's very different to Brisbane. Like, to remind him of this every day with the weather. But there's at that age, I think that if we see someone who's talented, we'll try and do the best for them. We'll try, and if they're talented and we can bring them in and it works for all parties, then that's obviously something we look at.
Beautiful. I think that's a very important point that you touched base on. There's a lot of our viewers that are also young, and they want to trial overseas, or they want that overseas experience. And then at least with people like yourself, they can be enlightened, and to get as much as information as possible, knowing that there is still hope overseas. Because it's really hard, especially with COVID at the moment too, traveling or whatnot. But it's good that you mentioned that there's still opportunity out there for the Aussies as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of talent in Australia. Traditionally, you guys generally might stay in Australia in the A League or the J League, or you might sometimes you see a lot of boys go to Holland and things like that. But I liked a lot of the Australian players because you've got that natural outdoor lifestyle and you've got that natural athleticism that I think it's just a case of the exposure, and if players there isn't a set age where you can make it, and if you're doing well in the A-League's getting better all the time, and I'm sure people are watching that, and it's all about, and you see the debuts in the A-League are getting younger, aren't they? So I think that's a real positive for Australia and Australian football.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any national team players in your team at the moment, Matthew?
So we have youth international players.
Yes.
So we have a number. The majority obviously are Welsh. On different years, we might have one or two from different nations, but yeah, we work with the Welsh national team staff, that they'll come and watch our games, and we'll provide some feedback, and they'll come in and watch sessions. And I think it's a great tool and a great experience for the guys, because they get to go and play against some real good footballing nations and get a different type of experience to what they get within their club.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wonderful. And finally, Matthew, if you were to give any advice for young coaches who have dreams of making a career in football, what would be some of the advice you could give?
I think the biggest thing is working hard to get yourself better. So going and speaking to different coaches, going and watching different sessions, trying to learn from, where the coach doesn't have to be a football coach, but just go and look how people handle different people, look how people create an environment, look how people create a culture. But then once you've done all that, it's being authentic to yourself and being genuine to yourself and knowing yourself. So you can't go out and try and be Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp or whoever if you're not that personality. So be the person who you want to be ultimately. And I think that if you stand by your own values and you work hard and you've got a clear idea of what you want from football and what you want your players to try and do, I think that will make you the best football coach you can. Because by being authentic, you get that relationship with players. If you're trying to copy someone else and trying to be someone else, the players will see through it, and then you can't form that relationship. You can't get to know the player as a person. You can't help them because you're not being yourself.
Yeah, spot on.
Wonderful. Well, Matthew, thank you very much for your time today. You've been a wonderful guest, and good luck for the rest of the season, and make sure you stay safe over there with the whole COVID.
Thanks, guys. And you stay safe.
Wonderful. Guys, thank you for tuning in again to another Australian Football Services podcast. Please consider liking this video and also subscribing to our channel, as we'll be bringing you more content like this. Until next time, stay safe and enjoy your football.